A brutal clash erupted between Iraqi insurgents and a cornered American unit led by Sergeant Gabriel. Outgunned and overwhelmed, his team held their position, desperately buying time for reinforcements. When backup finally arrived, Gabriel ordered his sniper, Trigger, to abandon his post and rejoin the front line. But the mission veered off course. Paul, one of their own, had executed every hostage, claiming self-defense. Then came the real blow. The unit was ambushed from all sides. A bazooka blast took down Trigger, leaving him barely alive until Leah, the combat medic, fought through the crossfire to save him. With no way out, Gabriel made the call. The others would escape through enemy lines. He would stay and cover them alone. Seconds later, a sniper's bullet slammed into his chest. Moments later, Gabriel awoke with a start. It was another nightmare, a brutal flashback from the battlefield. Drenched in sweat, he reached for his meds, trying to steady his breath. But the war wasn't done with him. A noise echoed from the kitchen.
Gabriel, your time has come.
He got up, and there, calmly seated at his table, was a stranger sipping cheap wine. Gabriel was stunned. A man had somehow entered his home without a sound. Demanding answers and ordering him to leave, Gabriel was met instead with a cryptic message. A mission awaited him. But this wasn't military. It wasn't political. It was global. A mission to save every soul, innocent, wicked, and damned. Gabriel refused. He was done. But before he could say more, the man disappeared without a trace. The next day, Gabriel went about his usual routine. On his way out, his young neighbor waved from her yard, asking him to stay and play. He gave a tired excuse. He had work. She looked let down. It wasn't the first time. Across the city, under a rusted overpass, a brutal underground fight raged on. The prize? Stacks of cash. Marcus, a powerful, aging brawler, stepped into the ring with his assistant, Gruel, watching. Despite his years, Marcus crushed the reigning champion and walked off with the winnings. Later, as Marcus and Gruel counted their cut in a grimy restroom, a strange man arrived, holding a suitcase packed with gold. He offered a simple challenge. Win, and the gold is yours. Lose, and your soul is mine. Marcus accepted. But the fight was no contest. The stranger wasn't human. As Marcus fell, his mind was flooded with visions of his violent past. And in that moment, the stranger knew he had found the perfect recruit. Back in the city, Gabriel had left war behind. Now he spent his days in a quiet garage, fixing engines and avoiding the past. But peace didn't last. The same mysterious figure who once appeared in his kitchen returned, this time with a name: Balthazar. Calm but forceful, Balthazar delivered a mission that shattered reality. Gabriel was to stop the Archangel Michael, who had turned traitor, leading an army of undead demons. Michael had sealed Hell's gates, trapping sinful souls like Marcus, turning them into foot soldiers for his cause. Gabriel was told to gather a team and find the elusive warrior of peace to end the coming war. The message was vague, and Balthazar vanished before Gabriel could ask more. And in that moment, as the weight of heaven's silence settled over him, Gabriel realized this was no longer just survival. This was prophecy. This was Angels Fallen, warrior of peace. That evening, walking home, Gabriel saw the same little girl from earlier. She was crying, yelled at by her father. He knelt beside her and offered quiet reassurance. That night, as he tried to push Balthazar's words from his mind, something strange happened. He found a bottle on his doorstep, labeled only with one word: demon. Elsewhere in the city, Roman, a sadistic killer, was preparing to torture his next victim. But before he could act, Marcus, now undead, appeared. Roman tried to fight, but it was useless. His soul, blackened by cruelty, was claimed. In another part of town, Trigger, once a top sniper, now mopped floors. He had just been fired for refusing to clean a room with a dog inside. Alone and defeated, he sat in silence until Gabriel arrived. For Trigger, it was like seeing family again. Without hesitation, he accepted Gabriel's offer to join the fight. The mission had begun. Later, Gabriel made his way to Leah's home, hoping to bring her back as the team's medic. But life had changed. She was now a mother, and her child was dying from a terminal tumor. Torn and exhausted, Leah refused. Gabriel saw the pain in her eyes and didn't press further. He walked away, knowing some battles weren't his to win. Next, Gabriel sought out Paul at a boxing gym. Once a prison guard, Paul had turned to the ring to cope with the ghosts of his past. The mission was all he needed to hear. Without hesitation, he agreed to fight again, this time for something bigger. Back at home, Leah sat in a bath, trying to calm her restless thoughts. But through the still water, a vision came, clear and urgent. Gabriel was her daughter's only chance. A blue elixir, the cure, would only come through him. The following day, Gabriel, Trigger, and Paul trained hard at the shooting range. As Gabriel prepared to reveal their next steps, Leah appeared. She had made her choice. She would join them, not just for the world, but for the one life she couldn't lose. With the team slowly coming together, Gabriel led them to a nearby cafe to plan their next move. But something felt wrong. On the way, Gabriel sensed they were being followed, several men watching from the shadows. At the cafe, Leah, now aware of her strange prophetic power, went to the restroom. She plunged her head into the sink, hoping for clarity. What she saw was a glowing symbol, a naked angel. The vision pointed them to a hidden nightclub tied to the symbol. They followed the lead and, once there, decided to split up. Inside, things unraveled fast. Trigger was pulled in by the club's dancers. Paul sat at the bar, drink in hand, letting his guard down. Only Gabriel and Leah stayed alert, searching for signs. At one moment, Gabriel noticed a man watching him too closely and followed him upstairs. There, the ambush began, a violent fight with no warning. Meanwhile, downstairs, Leah was cornered by a pushy clubgoer. But before things escalated, a mysterious stranger stepped in and stopped it. Moments later, all hell broke loose. The nightclub plunged into chaos. Back upstairs, Gabriel, struggling against his attackers, was suddenly aided by the bartender, surprisingly, the same one who served Paul. Side by side, they fought and took the enemy down. Once the dust settled, the truth came clear. The attackers weren't men at all. They were demons in disguise. After the fight ended, the team regrouped and finally shared names. The bartender introduced himself as Padre, not just a server, but an undercover priest on a mission to destroy the Legion. He wasn't working alone. Alongside him were Lucius, a dedicated police officer, and Farouk, a sharp-minded university student skilled in tech. Together, they had been tracking the Legion, a dangerous cult loyal to the fallen Archangel Michael. Their goal aligned with Gabriel's mission. To Gabriel, it was clear. This was the group he'd been searching for. The warriors of peace he was told to find. But not everyone was convinced. Farouk pushed back, warning that such a mission should be guided by faith in God, not just by Gabriel's orders or Leah's visions, which remained uncertain. Later, the full team met at a pool hall to regroup. Paul voiced his concern, questioning their direction. Gabriel's response was short. They had to trust the path and move forward with conviction. The lack of clarity left Paul uneasy, unsure if they were charging into a war with no plan. But the tension broke when Leah received an unexpected email from someone named Newton, inviting her to a secret location. She showed the message to Gabriel. Paul, now convinced it was a sign, agreed to continue. At the meeting point, they were welcomed by a woman named Deborah. She knew everything. She understood their mission and the role each person would play. Without hesitation, she handed out specialized weapons, tools built for the battle ahead. Trigger, the team's sniper, was unimpressed when handed only a small kunai. He expected something deadlier. But Deborah told him it wasn't about power, it was about control and learning to master precision with discipline. Paul received a high-powered handgun, brutal and direct, perfect for someone who fought with raw strength. Leah was given a glowing blue potion, exactly like the one she had seen in her vision, a possible cure for her daughter. Gabriel was last. Deborah presented him with a legendary flaming sword. At first he was thrilled, but when the blade failed to ignite, that excitement vanished. Deborah explained the sword would only awaken for its rightful master, one with a true spiritual bond. Gabriel wasn't ready yet. Armed and focused, the team moved out. The next day, Gabriel visited an old church. Inside stood a statue of Diana, the goddess of the hunt. Something inside him had drawn him there, a quiet pull, a whisper of forgotten faith. In that stillness, Balthazar appeared once more. He revealed that Diana had once come to him too. The moment struck Gabriel. He wasn't alone. Balthazar had once been lost, uncertain, searching, just like him. Gabriel opened up, troubled by Padre's group refusing to join the fight. Balthazar didn't give answers. Instead, he left him with cryptic guidance, something about sacred music and hidden wisdom. The message made little sense, but it was clear. A larger truth still waited ahead. At that very moment, Deborah's base came under sudden attack. A demon broke through, delivering a grim message. The demon army was now complete. But Deborah didn't hesitate. Using the advanced weapons at her disposal, she took down the intruder before it could do more damage. Elsewhere, Michael was building his force. He approached a gang of criminals at a secluded hot spring. Their leader rejected him. It didn't matter. With terrifying strength, Michael crushed them all in seconds. Faced with overwhelming power, the gang had no choice. They joined his growing army of demons. The next day, Gabriel and his team followed Balthazar's guidance to a hidden library, hoping to uncover Michael's location. But instead of answers, they walked into a trap. They were ambushed by former gang members, now demons under Michael's command. The creatures were fast and vicious, quickly overwhelming the group. Just when things looked lost, Padre and his team stormed in, turning the tide. Together, they pushed back and destroyed the attackers. After the fight, Gabriel confronted Padre, asking why he'd changed his mind. Padre revealed he had learned of the attack on Deborah and the terrifying truth: the demon army was now fully formed. There was no more time to wait. He also admitted that he had been the one behind the email to Leah, using the name Newton to set their mission in motion. The situation had turned critical. Michael's demon army was nearly complete, and the pressure was breaking the team. Paul, overwhelmed, briefly lost his will to fight, but the others stood by him, refusing to let him fall. During the last battle, Gabriel overheard a demon whisper a strange word, "Oblicit." Padre recognized it immediately. It was the name of a holy fortress, long hidden in northern Georgia. They had no time to waste. They traveled to Angel Air in the Milton Power region. To avoid detection by demons attuned to mechanical signals, they continued the final stretch on foot. When they reached the area, their search had barely begun when a massive, lizard-like demon attacked. The battle was brutal. Padre was severely wounded. Gabriel's flaming sword still refused to awaken. At the last second, Trigger hurled his kunai with perfect aim, landing a direct strike to the monster's head and killing him. Back at their temporary base, Leah treated Padre's wounds. The team was exhausted. The weight of the mission grew heavier. Paul, shaken after the battle, finally admitted he couldn't take it anymore. He walked away from the team, his departure leaving a cold silence behind. Burdened and frustrated, Gabriel turned to Deborah, questioning why the sword still failed him. She took the weapon in her hands, and in an instant, it burst into flames. That moment made everything clear. The sword worked. The problem wasn't the weapon, it was Gabriel's weakening faith. Without belief, the sword would never awaken. As a result, Deborah urged him to speak with Padre, the only one who could help him restore what he had lost. While still stunned by his victory over the giant demon, Trigger grew determined to master the kunai. He turned to Lucius for training, hoping to sharpen his skills. But Lucius refused. His time was committed to helping the children at the orphanage run by Padre. Curious and moved by the cause, Trigger chose to help instead. On the way there, they were ambushed. Legion soldiers on dirt bikes attacked. A fast, dangerous chase followed, but Lucius fought back hard, knocking the demon off his bike and clearing a path to safety. Elsewhere, Gabriel met with Padre to uncover the truth behind his silent sword. Padre told him plainly, the weapon responded not to strength, but to faith. Only through true belief would the flames return. Gabriel needed to stop doubting and start trusting himself. Their talk was cut short. Farouk burst in. He had picked up a sudden spike of demonic energy in Rutsiski Forest. The team acted immediately and headed out. What they found shocked them. The same giant demon they had already killed had returned, and it wasn't alone. More of them surrounded the area. Just as the threat loomed, a whistle echoed across the trees. In an instant, the demons vanished into the shadows. From the mist, Paul emerged. After leaving, he had been hunted by demons. He had seen the unthinkable, Michael being praised by an entire demon army. Changed by what he witnessed, Paul asked to come back. Without knowing the full truth, Gabriel accepted him. The team was whole again, but danger still lurked. Guided by Paul's directions, the team reached a dark, ancient temple. But before they could take a step further, a swarm of demons launched a sudden attack. In the chaos, Paul revealed the truth. He had never been Paul. He was Michael, hiding in plain sight. The real Paul had been a corrupt soldier who executed hostages during war, believing they were useless. That sin had allowed Michael to claim his soul and take his form. With the lie exposed, the battlefield exploded into full-scale combat. In the heat of the fight, Padre faced the Legion in a brutal clash. Though he fought with everything he had, he was struck down. With his final breath, he passed his cross necklace to Gabriel. The moment Gabriel touched it, the world around him vanished. He was pulled into a vision, into a scorched, broken realm of lava and ruin. There, Balthazar appeared one last time. Balthazar told him to close his eyes. Gabriel was shown a memory back in the war when he took a bullet to save a little girl. That moment of sacrifice had defined him. Balthazar reminded him, the team followed not because of his strength, but because they saw something greater in him, the light of God. Those words reignited Gabriel's spirit. Moments later, Gabriel returned to the battlefield, face to face with Michael. Their duel was brutal, each strike echoing with power. Michael was relentless, forcing Gabriel to the edge of defeat. Then everything changed. A divine presence filled the air. Gabriel saw it, clear and undeniable. In that instant, the flaming sword roared to life. Wings of light erupted from his back. Gabriel had become more than a soldier. He was now a warrior of heaven. Fueled by divine power, Gabriel rose with unstoppable force. Now transformed, he fought Michael with overwhelming strength. In the final clash, Gabriel struck down his enemy. Defeated and broken, Michael called out to the Legion, but instead of helping, they turned and ran, abandoning him in fear. Then the air turned cold. A far more terrifying presence arrived, Lucifer. Furious at Michael's repeated failure, Lucifer unleashed brutal punishment. Just as he prepared to finish him, Balthazar appeared and stepped in, stopping the destruction. The war was over. Gabriel now saw the full truth. He had died years ago in Iraq. Everything since had been a second chance, a mission given by God. With his purpose fulfilled, Gabriel began to rise, leaving the earth behind. He was no longer bound to this world. He had returned to his place among the chosen. The story ends in calm. Leah now watches her daughter, healthy and smiling. The little girl walks to Gabriel's former neighbor, the same child who once asked him to play, and hands her a toy tea set. They sit together, laughing under the sunlight. The story is complete. So the moral of the story is, always check your kitchen for wine-drinking strangers, because that's how you accidentally get drafted into a holy war and find out your sniper's deadliest weapon is actually a tiny knife.